So today, lads, we're going to be talking about something that I don't not only do I not agree with it, I don't really like that this is kind of the narrative that is out there. And I think it's really given a pass to an organization that doesn't deserve to have a pass for this specific thing. And I understand, again, like Chloe Peterson works, I don't know if, like, doesn't necessarily work for the Fever, but trying to take a bit of the side of the organization. But for me, I think that they messed up. And I think it's fine to say they messed up. I think that should be absolutely allowed in basketball. Like, I think you should be allowed to, mention when, like, an organization or someone or something gets lost in communication. You should be allowed. But this is a video from Chloe Peterson. Again, I have absolutely no issue with Chloe Peterson. Like, I know, obviously, when it comes to some of these journalists, like, people are not fans of Scott Agnes, but I have nothing against Scott Agnes. I don't. I understand what he meant. He just said it in the worst possible way. Like, there are absolute complete, like, another nut jobs that have clung on to the Caitlin Clark fandom. And the problem is that he essentially branded all Caitlin Clark fans, all new fans of the Fever as that. And, like, that's not right. But at the end of the day, Scott Agnes has been the most accurate when it comes to the Caitlin Clark stuff. But anyway, let's take a listen to what Chloe Peterson has said.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of fans think the Fever misled,
They did. They literally did not mention that Caitlin Clark had an ankle injury for 2 weeks. Caitlin Clark had a, not severe, but an ankle injury that would have kept her out of action had she not had the groin injury. An ankle injury that didn't allow her to ramp up in time. An ankle injury that was, like, without question, part of the reason why she couldn't come back this season. She couldn't get the ramp up time ready to go. And I think a big reason, again, with all the ramp up, is that the team didn't have enough practices to get her out properly. She wasn't able to do it, and she might have been there earlier if it wasn't for the ankle injury. And the team completely misled everybody on that, because we found out 2 weeks later. And people don't have to know everything about Caitlin Clark's medical records. But when a player has a setback from an injury, especially a player when people are paying to go see, it's disrespecting their fans' money. If nothing else, it's disrespecting their fans' time and their fans' money and some of their fans' interest. Because, yes, there are going to be fans that are more interested with Caitlin Clark. Whoop-de-fucking-do, that's sports. But, in my opinion, not mentioning a pretty, not severe, but, like, a not insignificant ankle injury is misleading. And there's no debate about that. It is misleading. You can say whether we can debate how misleading it is, and we can debate the severity, or we can debate the relevance of that. But at the end of the day, it's just, like, it is misleading. Like, we can talk about semantics and how relevant and relevance of it all, but by definition, it is misleading. Just like the no setbacks or no timeline. Like, we can talk about, we can throw in loopholes. Like, you can put in any amount of loopholes to let the Indiana Fever organization off with this. But at the end of the day, they by any definition, they misled their fans.
The fans, in a sense of not saying she's out for the season, not really giving updates. But I think they didn't. Obviously, I don't think they misled the fans. I think they were trying to give Caitlin as much runway as humanly possible for her to come back.
I don't disagree with that. I think you can simultaneously not disagree with what she just said there, that the Indiana Fever were trying to do what was best for Caitlin, but they also misled the fans. Like, you can make the argument that the Indiana Fever did right by Caitlin. That at the end of the day, it's their job to do right by their player. But you can't argue they didn't mislead the fans. You can do both at the same time. You can do right by your player and mislead the fans. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. You can do one. Like, one doesn't have to come at the expense, like one can come at the expense of another.
Because she so desperately wanted to come back and she so desperately wanted to be able to play with her team again and be able to get back from this right groin injury. But it kind of got to a point where, you know, she wasn't able to do that contact practices, and they're obviously running out of time. There's less than a week left in the season, only 3 games left. And it got to a point today where they just finally made it so, you know, there's not enough time left in the season.
And I don't think anyone's disagreeing with a word that Chloe Peterson's saying right here. And again, like, I have 0 issues with Chloe Peterson. I just disagree with her on this topic. And that's one of the things, the weird things with the WNBA media landscape is that, like, if you disagree with somebody on one topic, suddenly you need to hate the person. Suddenly you need to hate the person, because if you disagree on anything, suddenly you hate the person. Like, we're talking sports. Like, we are absolutely allowed to disagree with people's takes in sports. Even if we don't dislike the person. And that's one of the weird things with sports discourse, especially WNBA discourse, is that people take sports opinions personally. Like, if you think I say something that's dumb as fuck, I'm not going to dislike you for that. I've definitely said some stuff that have, in hindsight, looked dumb as fuck on this channel.
For her to safely return. I don't think they were misleading for a month. I think she was genuinely trying to ramp up and genuinely trying to get back. So maybe if this had happened in the beginning of the season, she could have ramped up by midseason and came back. But
what about the ankle injury? Like, that's the thing. Nobody said that they were like, the argument that they misled stuff about Caitlin Clark stems from how they're communicating the injury. Not that they told us Caitlin was coming back. It stemmed from how they're communicating the injury. That's the issue that people have. It's nothing to do with how behind the scenes they dealt with Caitlin Clark. Like, at the end of the day, we can all have our opinions. None of us are in that room. We can all speculate on things. I think everyone's going to speculate at sports. And if you're going to tell someone to not speculate, then what the fuck are you doing being a fan of sports? What are you doing being a fan of sports? If you can't just shout into the void, say to fire your coach, if you can't go and complain about X, Y, or Z player who constantly shoots dumb shots 1 minute, and then they hit some of those crazy shots and win you a game, and you lose, you become that player's biggest fan the next minute. Like, it's the weirdest thing about this league is you're not allowed be normal sports fans, it seems. But, like, Chloe Peterson is out here describing that the Indiana Fever, basically, that they did what they could to get Caitlin back, that they did the right thing in this situation, they couldn't ramp her up in times. Like, that's not what people are arguing about. What people are arguing about is the fact that she was day-to-day, she got a scan, and she was questionable for a game that night, and then she was day-to-day. Then it was, she might be back for the All-Star game. Then she's out for the All-Star game. Then she's day-to-day after the All-Star game. And then out of nowhere, she's out indefinitely. And then all of a sudden, she's ramping up. We hear she's like running. We hear she's running full court. And then we hear that she's actually not running full court. And then out of nowhere, she's gone. We hear, obviously, that she's gone from running full court to, she's only just started jogging full court. And you're like, something's wrong here. Something's wrong here. And then all of a sudden we hear there's a new ankle injury now. For me, it's like, it's clear that there's been something. Whether it, like, there's been some form of misleading information. Again, the setback situation being like, the ankle injury is not a setback. That's the most misleading thing. That's the most misleading thing that you can, you can't even argue that it's not misleading. It's absolutely misleading. It's misleading by fucking definition. By definition, it's misleading. But anyway, let's keep going.
Just with the timing of this injury and with them being cautious, trying not to make her overcompensate for the other injuries or have another leg injury. It's just she ran out of time to get that ramp up back, and the Fever were trying to give her as much time as humanly possible to ramp up. They just ran out of that time.
What does that have to do with the misleading? That is absolute. That's not like she's avoided the entire question. I don't actually think there's anything. I don't even know. I don't think there's anything wrong with what Chloe Peterson has said just there. But she just answered the question. She answered the question of response to fan criticism about the team misleading fans with, you know, they did all they could to get her back. That's nothing to do with it being misleading. Like, that's a completely different point to be made. And look, there were a lot of fans criticizing, you know, how they were ramping her back and what they were doing and the training staff and everything. And it's fine to respond to them, but that's nothing to do with this being misleading. Either way, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's just weird. This whole organization, the way everything is. Can we just get a Shams or something? Can we get like real insiders that are giving out? Can we just get a Shams? And you know what? If the Chloe Peterson can get Shams level information, I'm fine with that. Shout out Chloe Peterson. I have absolutely no issues with Chloe Peterson. I think she's done a good job covering this team. I just disagree with. I don't disagree with what she's saying. I think she just answered a different question and passed it off for I don't know what reason. The ankle bruise set her back. How did she get the bruise if she wasn't any contact in practice? I think a coach got her, didn't they? Yeah, a coach didn't step on her foot in Phoenix. Oh, no, sorry. A coach stepped on her foot afterwards. Any athlete in any league would have stayed at home rehab. The organization would have been answering questions openly about the status every single day. For as long as the interest there, she flew around the country signing everything. They misled the fans, period. Doesn't mean it was on purpose or any ill contempt. I agree with that. They could give Kane Clark space, but still be realistic with public comms. If my business, like, that's the thing. Why did they keep lying about a return date? They never technically lied about a return date. They just said there was no. That's the one thing they didn't lie about. In fairness, they absolutely did not lie about a return date because there was never a return date. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. Shout out Chloe Peterson in general. I think she's done a good job this year and of covering this team. I just don't agree with this point. I don't agree with this point. Or sorry, I don't agree with this way of answering the question because, in fairness, like, she didn't say anything wrong. She just didn't answer the question.